I'm going to show you today a sample theme presentation and what it would look like if you used PowerPoint. I'm obviously in presenter view because I wanted to show you the notes that I wrote so you could also follow along while I speak. This is my first slide. I have my title, I have my image, and I have my name. You will use this slide to introduce yourself, introduce the creative presentation you've created, and tell us a little bit about the image you chose. Slide 2 goes right into the theme statement, and I have an image in here as well. In this slide, however, when I speak, I will be giving my introductory phrase or anecdote or story when you watch the video about introductions. I'm also giving some background information about my novel, things that are relevant to the theme that I'm proving, and then I'm going to explain the theme. Why is this important? What does this mean? A person's darkest punishment can lead to his or her freedom. What do I mean by that? What are the quick 3 overview main points that I'm going to discuss? Slides 3, 4, and 5 will be the same. Each one has the quote or excerpt that you chose. It's properly cited. Notice the period comes after. It's no more than 20 words. And I also have an image. Notice it's not an image from the movie. It's not an image that's really obvious or says the words on there. Something I can explain and talk about. And I'll tell you in here that in this slide, you will only have the quote or the excerpt. The quote will come from the first third of the book, because this is slide 3, as you can see. It needs to be in proper MLA citation. And when you present, you're going to talk about the following. You're going to introduce the main point. So you will transition to this first main point you're making. So if my first main point is about how sometimes the darkest moments make someone happy, I could say the first example of this in the story is when Hester talks about Pearl. And I would explain a little more. I would transition into my quote and talk about why this specific part of the book proves why a person's darkest moments can sometimes lead to their freedom. How does this section, and I will give background information about that. Spend some time explaining how it supports my thesis. How does this part of the story help teach the overall lesson? And then also make sure you have the image and you talk about that in there. Once I finish talking about this section of the story, remember, I'm not just going to say, this quote proves my thesis, because I don't want to do that. I want to take the reader on a journey. I want to explain them. Here's a part of the story. Here's what's happening in this part of the story. And here's how this specific part of the story is really important because it proves this theme and this lesson that that the author's trying to teach us and that I'm explaining right now. This is what I will do for slide 3. Slide 4, you can see, is the exact same way. And I will also do it for slide 5. So my first 3 quotes, my 3 excerpts, each one is from a different part of the book. One is from the first third, one is from the second third, and one is from the last, as you can see, the last third of the book. And each one tells you what you should be doing. This PowerPoint is also posted on our JT Learn page under handouts and notes, so you can go view it there for more detail. The final slide is where I will give my final thoughts on the story. I will also have an image. Notice how I don't have a bunch of bullet points of everything I'm going to say. You want to put no more than 20 words on each slide. It is really important that you remember that. And for this final slide, you're going to recap your main points, which are slides 3, 4, and 5. So the 3 parts of the story you thought were super important to help prove the theme. You will restate your thesis statement, not word for word, but you'll give us an overview about the darkest moments someone has and the freedom they can get from that. And then finally, you give your final thoughts on the lesson we learned from the novel. Why is this lesson important? Why is it relevant to us today? Why is this something that we can use today? And remember, you cannot have more than 20 words on any of your slides. Finally, the last slide is going to work as your works cited. You can watch our video on YouTube for how to cite images and where you can get Creative Commons images since we will be publishing these presentations. This is where you're going to put the works cited. You will have the citation for your story. So this person cited the Scarlet Letter, and then you'll have the images. Notice it's in alphabetical order. Notice the hanging indentation. All these rules that you'll need to follow for how to do a works cited properly. Make sure that you follow that. As always, if you have any questions, you can always consult this PowerPoint on our handouts and notes link on JT Learn. You can also go back and watch this video.